And we welcome you into yet another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. We're coming to you from Quaker Steak and Lube in State College, the place to come on down and enjoy the upcoming baseball playoffs. I haven't checked the standings lately. I'm not sure if the Pirates are going to make it as a wild card or they might end up just missing this year.
Their playoffs start tonight.
Checked. Yeah.
Pittsburgh can ruin the Philly season. They play a 4-game set. So.
This is true. And also, obviously, great place to come on down and watch your college and NFL action. It is football season. It is officially fall, and we are ready to make the turn into the meat of the schedule after the Villanova game on Saturday. It is this Villanova game, Goon, and listen, the team, you always separate team from fans. Team has to take everything seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, but the focus for Penn State really this week has to be on just continuing to get better, right? Like you can't. Yes. You can't take a game that you presume is a virtual automatic W and not improve and then expect to get to where you want to be at the end of the season. So, my guess, and I don't know anything inside, but my guess is they're working a little harder than you would normally during a game week. Not crazily so. I'm not saying you're, let's just beat the snot out of each other in practice and run everybody ragged. That defeats the purpose as well. But I suspect a little more contact, a little more, goes with the conditioning and all of that this week, because you do expect that Penn State takes care of business Saturday and gets some of the younger kids some valuable experience. Again, as you then get ready for the Big Ten portion of the season.
Yeah, so we got the Villanova Wildcats. So this is their Super Bowl. We say it all the time because this is their biggest game of the year. There's,
and it's a really neat opportunity for those kids and fans.
Love it. I love the opportunity because, a lot of my friends and family are Villanova people and know Villanova people, and I got a full tailgate this weekend. A lot of people coming up. It's a fun game for them. But you get to show off Penn State to people who never experienced Penn State, really.
Yeah.
And, as a player, you're just like, okay, you just got to go out there. You want to get in, get out as fast as you can. But the biggest thing you worry about as a player and a coach is just stay healthy. Let's go out, do what we have to do. You act like the top 5 football team you are. Treat them the way they need to be treated. And then, then you shake their hand, they go home, and then you're ready for the next week. But you just do not want to get anybody hurt. So I got a little weird feeling of how this game's going to go because this is such a huge game for Villanova, and they've been looking forward to it for a while, don't be surprised early. There's going to be a little bit of a hangover from the Auburn game because I know I missed Tuesday's show. By the way, everything is good to go with the puppy. She just a little strain. We're good. Yeah, nothing bad. So, but I expect there to be a big old hangover because I know I didn't get a chance to talk about the Auburn game, but that was the most electric crowd I've seen in possibly since the 2005 Ohio State game. And the fact that everybody stayed the whole time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was the most sustained. And
they rocked, man.
Booch was talking about it on Tuesday, but it was nonstop. And it didn't matter if the previous, like that after the scoop and score from Porter was called back. I mean, they were right back at it, both the team and the fans with the same intensity. Jeez. And if anything, I think the noise factor increased after
I forgot
that.
about the scoop and score, that being another just blown call again by those referees. I mean, that was
actually,
horrendous.
I think they got that one right.
Well, they did. They had to go back to it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
No, they had to go review it, so they got it right in the end. But on the field, and you watch the review, you're like, that's the whole second and a half after the tackle. So that was not a good showing. That was preseason for them, it seemed. But so go back to Villanova, and that is that first quarter they're going to come out all guns blazing. They're going to throw an uppercut, a haymaker, trying to to land a big shot. And if it lands, and then you still got to recover from it. But we got to be able to withstand it, dodge it, and then put them down. So don't be surprised. I mean, that's the way I suspect it to happen. Is the hangover from last week will definitely occur because it's not going to be the electric atmosphere that the players have become accustomed to. The first game being Ball State, the first time the fans were back in 2 years. Last week being last week. So, there's going to be a crowd letdown. There's going to be 40,000 empty seats probably for the first quarter until the kids wake up and get over to the game. So I do expect it be competitive early, but in the end, if our starters are playing in the fourth quarter, then I would consider it not a good effort.
Yeah, I will be curious to see, how both teams come out and again, from Penn State's perspective, yes, you want to get out of it without any injuries, but I mean that's not to a large degree. That's not something you can control. But I think it's just again about we've got to get better, focus on doing all the little things right. Because this is the last opportunity before you get into the meat of the schedule, and by far the most important aspect of the schedule in conference play. And again, as we're talking about on Tuesday, it's one of those things where I think if Penn State goes out and plays the way it's capable of. Right, Iowa and Ohio State, those two games on the road are the only games that I think Penn State should be in danger of losing. Now, that being said, listen, Penn State doesn't play well. Again, there are any number of teams on that schedule that are capable of beating Penn State, and I think that the Big Ten East. I think year in and year out, we think is going to be good. But I think top to bottom, this is the best that division has been since Penn State joined since they went to the two divisions, because and it's one of the things that's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out, because everybody's on the nationally is on the Michigan bandwagon right now, and with good reason. I mean, they look very good to this stage of the season, but Michigan State looks like a legit big-time team again this year. Penn State, certainly through 3 games, looks like a legit big-time. And Ohio State, despite the loss to Oregon, I mean, that is Ohio State. They are the standard bearer in the Big Ten for a reason. And then, listen, Indiana has not had the start to its season that it was hoping, but it has a lot of talent on that roster. And then I go to, Rutgers and Maryland right now are both playing much better football than we've seen in recent years. And listen, I think Rutgers, I don't think they're there yet, but I think that what they are going to give you, there being like any kind of a contending team in the Big Ten East, but man, they are not going to be an easy out. The one thing they are going to bring is 60 minutes of intensity and effort. And I don't know that you can always say that about Rutgers in years past. And, that is a direct reflection of Greg Schiano and what he brings.
That is the definition of Greg Schiano. That is what he brings to the table as a coach and as a player. I was here when Greg was here, and as a coach, I mean, he ran his guys hard, but they played their asses off for him, and they hit people, and everywhere he's gone, he's had success. He bought Rutgers back and to be a top. I mean, you had Ray Rice, I get it, but I don't care. They were a top 10 program at one point with him, so. What you just said, people are always going to say the SEC West is the best conference, like breakdown of the conference division in any conference. Well, you take that Big Ten East right now and you match them up head to head,
top to bottom.
You are spot on that one with that Big Ten East.
And listen, and so I still think Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana are at the bottom of that division. But that's what I'm saying is if that's the bottom of your division, that's pretty good stuff. And listen, for Rutgers and Maryland in particular, looking at this from Penn State's perspective, right? I mean, if you ask any Maryland fan, what's the one team you want to beat on your schedule? Penn State. We'll take that. if you ask Rutgers fans, I mean, it's not even close, right? I mean, it is very definitively Penn State. So again, with that as the backdrop, again, I do think as a Penn State fan, you should be feeling very good to this stage of the season and very optimistic. But as always, I mean, it is going to be a grind as you get into the Big Ten portion of the schedule. And listen, for the injury factor and because of the grind that's coming up, all of those things, I do think, and I'm sure it's a point of emphasis, that James Franklin does not want to see that hangover effect. You as a Penn Stater in that locker room and on that coaching staff and as a fan, you want that second half to be the time where you are, hey, let's get those other guys in. We got this thing well in hand. I mean, you want to be up comfortably so that these guys can get off the field so there's not injuries, but also some rest, an opportunity to just, again, get the body and mind ready for what is going to be, a big-time, tough grind to get to the end of the season. I do think the Big Ten and the TV makers did Penn State a favor by having that Indiana game at night. That is I
was just going to say, I'm thinking otherwise, though, personally, but go ahead.
No, I think it's big time because I think it takes away the possibility of overlooking. You're not. You're going to be dialed in. I don't care. You cannot not be pumped up for a night game at Beaver Stadium. It was the same. I don't care who you're playing at night game at Beaver Stadium. The juice is going to be in there with the fans, and I think it just translates to the players.
The problem I have though is it's a late night Saturday night game. Their kids aren't getting to bed until midnight, 1 o'clock. I mean, no, that's not an issue, but we'll say 4 or 5 in the morning. But what I'm saying is that they have a night game, early day Sunday, this and that. There's a day of missed sleep right there. And then you got to travel out to Iowa Friday, which is not a hard trip, but you're still traveling, and that takes a little bit out of you. So, having the night game, and I would rather have a noon game, be done by 3 o'clock, get your mindset on Iowa, who's 7 days away. But now, you're still Sunday morning, you're still reiterating this Indiana game, and I'm sure that they'll be fine with it. But as an ex-player, you could see where, you would like a little, half a day rest more going out to Iowa.
Yeah.
And then you throw in the travel. I mean, it takes a little bit out of you too. And I know the kids are all finely tuned athletes and they're not fat asses like us, but I'm just saying, there is a little something to be saying about a night game and then followed by another. I mean, have they announced Iowa yet?
No.
That's probably going to be, I would think, a night game.
I don't think so.
I think they had to announce it to be a night game 13 days before. Right?
Yeah, I think Booch is right. It's because I think Fox is going to say, no, we'll take it. Yeah.
Oh, it's even worse. So there's a noon game.
Yeah, see, I think that's
Saturday
good
night,
too, though.
Would you Saturday morning, 11 a.m.?
Yeah, but would you rather? You're at Kinnick. Would you rather a noon kickoff or
the pig heads are coming down no matter what time the game starts out there.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, it's just like Beaver Stadium. The juice may be there, but it's not going to be the same juice at noon as it is at 7 or 8 at night.
Speaking of juice,
not.
How was your last Saturday? Come on, I know no work. Not you were out there to play. How was it?
Yeah, it was very.
Waited 16 years for it.
Very nice. What wonderful time. Wasn't able to find a couple of the tailgates I was looking for, and I was having all kinds of trouble with my phone. So that was a little disappointing. But no, had an absolutely great time. Loved being in the stands for the game itself, and it was just a fun day, fun night the whole way around. One quick and be the last time we talk about it, but Pete Harfley, who I talked about last week and talked about again on Tuesday, got a chance to be up there. And I feel somehow you and I are on similar paths lately. Yeah, he was up at the game. His family got him in, but he passed away Wednesday morning. And again, Pete was a 1987 State High grad, played baseball at Penn State. Family, his dad was the American Legion coach at State College forever. And Pete was, Penn State through and through. And it was really cool that he had the chance to get into the stadium, watch the entire game. But did pass away. Want to acknowledge that. I also love that the family is so Pete did not want a memorial service. He wanted just a party, get together.
Again, my buddy Doc wanted.
Yep. And and I'm telling you, between the dog situations and it's eerie, the similar paths that
we're in the same landing pattern, buddy.
Seem to be on this fall. But man, love to all of the Carfley family, wife, sister.
I didn't know he went to the game. So that is awesome that they could.
Yeah,
they did that.
A lot of friends and family able to stop by and talk with them, and I think everybody knew that this was going to be the last opportunity for him. Again, he went into hospice care the previous week, and
that's great.
Had set a long time ago the goal of being able to catch up with everybody at the Auburn game, and
that was his thing. They said in his obituary or her memorial, they said that he was the guy who set the whole tailgate up for years upon years upon years. That was his thing. So, so when my buddy passed away last week, so we had a memorial, a funeral mass for him, and his daughter got up there and spoke. And it's a lot like what Pete, the same type of guy. And he said, she said about my buddy Doc, her father, she said he could have had a pity party, but he threw a block party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His last wish was he died on a Friday. So the Sunday before was his 53rd birthday. And they were like, what do you want? They knew that the end was near. And they said, what do you want? And he goes, I want a block party. I want everybody. So everybody showed up around town.
Yeah.
200 some people showed up. And so that's exactly what you just said about Pete. I mean, I didn't know he was at a tailgate, but that is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, the issue is going to be they're trying to figure out a venue right now. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to be big enough. I mean, I really don't because between just his high school classmates, and then you throw in all of the college crowd, and then the work friends from over the years, and all of the different.
And he spread out. He was here, then he was down in Lancaster. And so he's got different pods.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But details are forthcoming.
It's pretty amazing. They're the same type of guy that had the same type of friendships with a lot of different people. And may God rest his soul.
Yes, and
one of those people, just like my buddy, no one can say really a bad word about him. And if you did, you'd have 100 guys trying to fight you. So that's sad. Way too freaking young, way too young.
Yeah,
both of them. But we got to fix this cancer thing. We got to get this crap under control, man. Losing too many friends right now.
Yeah, for all the advancements we're making in so many areas, including in the fight against cancer. I mean, the advancements that are being made are remarkable, but doggone, it feels like we ought to be able to get
something
that thing taken care of and find a cure here across the board. Couple of things. Again, from Penn State's perspective, I think you're just looking at take care of business. Again, try to get things in hand as quickly as possible. From a national perspective, I don't know. And listen, it's college football. Anything can always happen. I'm excited to watch this Wisconsin Notre Dame game because I think. I think I know what's going to happen, and I think I'm going to be very happy with it as an anti-Notre Dame fan.
True.
And as somebody that wants to see that Penn State schedule get bolstered. And again, if you're a betting man and you have money on this game, you're now taking it off of the table.
You like Wisconsin,
if you're for Wisconsin. But man, I really do think Wisconsin has a chance to lay the hammer down here on this Notre Dame team on Saturday. And it's
Notre Dame needs exposed.
Yeah, and I think truthfully, I think they have been exposed through these first 3 weeks, and that's the thing. It's not that they've struggled in one game. I mean, this is 3 weeks now of, and I get again, getting W's is important and significant. But when you look at the caliber of competition and the results, I mean, Notre Dame right now, to me, is very clearly the most overrated team in the country. That is not a top 10 team.
Who is? Notre Dame? Yeah, imagine that. Notre
yeah, I know. A rarity.
Yeah. I've always said that Notre Dame, they always overrank them, but when they lose, and they drop them hard. It'll be interesting because you're right. They have not shown up 3 weeks in a row, and they're 2-1 or 3?
3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. Yeah. Sorry. But I mean, now you look at that Florida State game and you're like, oh man, Florida State might be back in this and that, but then they go and lose Jacksonville State. No. It's like they're not. Yeah. That's just a bad Notre Dame team, and maybe they get it going on the fourth week. Maybe they're going through the growing pains and stuff like that. But I just don't see them being a top 10 program. Again, overrated is what they are, and they play a tough little schedule this year. They're not the cupcakes that somebody was like, oh, they don't play anybody. So they got to play Cincinnati still. They got to play Wisconsin this weekend. I mean, there's some. I mean, if they can beat those two, yes, you are a top 10 team. There's no doubt in my mind. But I don't think they're going to be either one of them.
I don't either. I really don't. And in part, in the Cincinnati case, in part because, again, from an emotion standpoint, right? I mean, that game means everything to those Cincinnati kids. And listen, I think Notre Dame will be ready for it. I mean, they're not going to be I think Notre Dame will be an underdog going into that Cincinnati game. So that probably will serve as some motivation for the Irish. But I also just think Cincinnati right now, I think both Cincinnati and Wisconsin are just better teams.
Yeah, watch that. What was Cincinnati versus Indiana the other day, and that was a pretty good game to watch and this and that, but that was a lot tighter than that end score ended up being. They won by 17 or 18 or something like that, maybe 20, but it was a very, very, very tight game for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah.
So, and then a couple late touchdowns really padded the stats a little bit for Cincinnati. So Indiana's not going to be a cakewalk for us next week. I mean, I will get to that next week, obviously, but it is just, by the way, for the Philadelphia kids that are on the team right now, this is a big game for us this weekend.
Yeah.
Philadelphia area kids, excuse me. Because because everybody knows people from Villanova down there. So there'll be a lot of people who want to come up. And it's just nice that we can show them what Penn State is, because it's normally not what they see on a regular basis. So they've played a couple big time programs in the last few years, but I mean, I like what they're doing. Like I said, I had a lot of friends play for them that I grown up and going to college or high school with. So a lot of BS talking going on this weekend, by the way.
Well, a couple of things also, just looking at the kind of the big picture stuff right now with college football. So, we get into discussions all the time about where different programs are, and I get that everybody. Fans of every team want to be the Alabama and the Clemson and the Ohio State and the teams that are always, at least contending, if not in the college football playoffs. But going back to watching the film last Saturday for me and for Friday night for a lot of others with Saving the Roar, and when you sit down and really evaluate Penn State and what James Franklin has done on the heels of what Bill O'Brien did, on the heels of what Joe Paterno had established. I mean, it is beyond impressive that Penn State is where it is. And coming off of Saturday, to me, there's just such a wave of momentum right now for this program. Now, again, momentum's a funny thing in sports, and it can turn in a heartbeat. I recognize and acknowledge that. But again, since the 0-5 start last season, right, there is very little that has not gone well here for Penn State. From the finish to last season to the offseason being pretty quiet here on the news front, which is what you want.
Yeah.
And then, the recruiting has obviously been tremendous. And by the way, and now you're off to a 3-0 start with a couple wins over ranked teams and win over a team that's expected to be contending, if not winning the MAC title. And Saturday, to me, just waves of momentum. Every recruit that was, have you heard from anybody and not all of those top kids are going to come. I get it. But there's not a single one that wasn't like, wow, that was cool. This is unbelievable. Right. So that the impact that had on the kids, every Auburn fan that I've seen and read, and I'm sure there were some that had bad experiences. There always are. But man, there are letters to the editors. There are, there is all kinds of, hey, love the experience. You guys are awesome. Love the hospitality. And we sat next to 3 or 4 Auburn fans, and they were saying the same thing. It's like, how was the experience? We're talking before the game, and they're like, "Nah, loved it, man. This place is awesome. Love the scene, tailgating scene. Reminds us of the best scenes in the SEC. Looking forward to having you guys down next year." And then as the whiteout scene unfolded and the singing of Sweet Caroline and all that, they're like, "No, this is right there." Like, awesome. I don't know whether it's the best, the one guy, but he's like, it's definitely as good as LSU, which was he said the best atmosphere he had ever been in.
I did tell somebody the other day, I said, we're turning into LSU having all these freaking night games.
Yeah. But so I think from a reputation standpoint, which Penn State's still wanting to make gains in that regard from a recruiting standpoint, and just from a season and program standpoint. Again, the momentum continues to be very strongly in Penn State's favor right now. And I don't know what your assessment is. We talked about it on Tuesday, but I really think right now, Goon, that this is as even and open at the top of the college football tier as we've had. And that's not to say, Alabama to me is still rightfully the team to beat. But, that was not an overwhelming performance against Florida. They execute the 2-point play a little better. Florida, I'm talking about, and who knows? We might be talking about a 1-loss Alabama team, but that's certainly at this stage of the season, that looks like a beatable Alabama team. Now, not easily beatable. It's going to take a really good team with a really good performance, but I don't think it's going to take a phenomenal, out of this world, which it has felt many times in recent years, like to beat Alabama or Clemson. That's what it would take. I don't think there's a team out there that is heads and shoulders above everybody else. And I really do think there are 8 to 12 teams that, again, truly on a given Saturday and depending on how a particular game plays out. And I think Penn State is one of them. I think Penn State, Alabama, Oregon. The usual suspects are there. Georgia,
I gotta
Oklahoma.
Say, Georgia is frustrating. And Oklahoma, they're not going to play anybody. They're going to be undefeated. Excuse me.
Well,
they'll have their one-time screw up. They'll have that one hiccup game, which they always do. Kansas State, but they do got to play Iowa State, who's pretty damn legit this year. But I got to ask this. Can you imagine? And this is, I know Herschel Walker went to Georgia, and they had some pretty good years then. But this is the best Georgia sustained in like a 5-year period ever, and they can't even sniff it. Because Alabama is just smacking them in the nose, like beat it, get down. And by the way, I do have to ask. I see Dotson on television here. He's the best. He's as close to Bobby Ingram as I. That's my player comparison.
I will say he is the most consistent. It really is remarkable when you go back to last season and now this season.
Out of nowhere.
He does not. And I don't want to jinx the kid. Everybody, the best of the best drop. Jerry Rice had some drops in his career, believe it or not. But man, that dude is just the epitome of consistency, right? And I mean, he makes the great catches, but we've had other guys that have make the great catches and then drop some of the routine ones, and they're just not. I mean, you get it in his neighborhood. He's coming down with it, right? Like it's seemingly 99% of the time. Yeah, and Ingram was very much the same way. And listen, I'm not ready to tell you that Clifford's McSorley yet,
nope.
But the similarity that I'm seeing through 3 games, the biggest similarity for me, and I think it's an important one, is Clifford is trusting his guys to go make the play. He knows he doesn't need to make the perfect throw, but you get it near. And I'm telling you, Parker is not very far behind Jahan Dotson right now in terms of ability and dependability. And you know, you throw in the tight ends. I like what Penn State has available with its passing game, and I like the way Clifford is developing. Again, do I think, you know, he's a Heisman candidate yet? No, but I think he's understanding, man, I have some really good receivers, like really good receivers. And I have some really good tight ends, and I have some good running backs, by the way, that can make plays for me. And I think he's understanding. I just don't want to put the ball where bad things can happen.
Yep.
But if I put it near these guys, we're going to be okay.
I'm with you, dude. I mean, think about this. I mean, my argument about Sean Clifford the last 3 years is the past 2 seasons is he tried to do too much all the time. And he was like sitting there like almost like a schizophrenic back there trying to run the ball, pass the ball, you know, throw, pass, catch, everything all at the same time himself. So I believe that this year, being a senior 4-year guy, he's finally come to the conclusion like, oh my God, I got good guys around me and I'm trusting them like you just said. And the offensive line has given him a lot of time, and he's
an unbelievable amount of time.
His job, like we always say, just do your job, and that's what he's doing. He's not trying to do everybody else's job. He's managing this offense and doing it very, very, very well. I've always said that the Kerry Collins and Joe Burrows, you know, their trajectory is because they really didn't have like successful big time years until their last year, and I'm not putting Sean in that category as those two, but I mean, that's exactly what happens when you have a 3rd or 4th year guy who's seen it all, done it all, and nothing's going to rattle him. And I think that's what we're getting the benefits of that right now.
And I still think this offense is still a work in progress. I think it looked good. There were still some opportunities missed, and there's some things that still need to get cleaned up. But I really think they have a chance to be something special when conference play rolls around. And again, I mean, I have a chance to rack
I can't
up
imagine
good
having the game plan
Saturday.
defensively against us.
Yeah, I think
with what yours was doing the other night with, you know, throwing to this guy, that guy, tight ends, eligibles, tackles, it was unbelievable. Now you imagine having them, you know, scout Penn State right now and create those. Okay, so when they do this, we got to do this and this and this and this. So. Well, it's rather dynamic, man. It's been pretty refreshing to see.
And the thing is, I think what they are setting up now is that opportunity to, hey, we have enough faith and confidence in all parts of our game, and I liked his ability to adjust as the Auburn game went along, right? Auburn's making adjustments, and then Penn State's making counter adjustments. And to your point, I mean, if you're a defensive coordinator, like you can't say, all right, if we take Noah Cain out of the game,
yeah, we're
you're done. Yeah, that like the last thing you want is just. But same thing, if you we're going to take away the deep ball. Well, fine. Penn State has shown an ability to be very consistent in taking the underneath stuff, and I think the tight ends are going to play a bigger and bigger role as this season goes along in the passing game. I'm talking about, and I just again that there are things that need worked on and cleaned up, but I like the fact that they're still coming together, that we're not seeing, I think, anywhere near the ceiling of what this offense in particular, probably the entire team, but the offense in particular, can achieve. And I think it is all going to click. It clicked in some ways. I mean, obviously Clifford had it going Saturday night, but we haven't seen this offense click the way that 16 team did in the second half of the season. And I think it's going to come. I mean, I really do. I think it's going to come to a degree that at Iowa and at Ohio State, this offense is still going to be putting up points.
And I'm not going to compare Clifford to Burrow and Kerry Collins. There's no way you do that yet. I'm going to compare. I can't compare this offense to our 94 offense. But what you just said is that was why we were so good in 1994. So defensive coordinators had to say to themselves, okay, if we put 8 in the box, we got to stop Carter. Kerry's going to throw for 400 on you.
Yeah.
Kerry, Bobby, and Kyle and Freddie Scott are going to have a field day on you. Okay, we're going to step back, play zone, this and that, and then the offensive line and Kijana would put 250 on you rushing. So that is exactly where an offense wants to be, where if you become like Jerry and Scrap and every defensive coordinator, the man, Joe would always say, you can take one aspect of a team's game away.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 that you can go back and forth, that is a hell of an offense. And I believe that is where we're going right now. And that is, do we want to stop the running or do we want to stop the passing game right now? And that is a pretty damn good luxury to have. So I'm very happy with where we are right now, offensive line wise. I mean, the first game was a little slow for me, but again, we've chalked that up. I've always chalked that up to, not having a live experience throughout camp and that type of stuff. So
and Wisconsin's pretty
damn good at defense
on that side of the ball.
So our offensive line was playing fantastic these past 2 games. So. They're not road grade, and they're not destroying people and this and that, but they are out there.
And the run blocking still got to get better.
Yes.
They have to be able to grind out some of the short yardage situations. But the pass blocking is, it's unbelievable how good that was.
That's what the difference is right now. But when this offense makes it is when we go on a 6-minute drive to end the game. We need 2 or 3 first downs. I have been praying for that day for 5-10 years now, and having that what do they call it, the 4-minute offense, right? It's not a 2-minute drill. It's a 4-minute drill where you got to milk the clock. And Bill O'Brien was not good at it. Bill had big time issues with that, with trying to get the team going, but then you got to slow them down because you don't want the clock to go, and it's tough to call 2 different games like that.
Yeah.
So as a fan, as an alumni, I will say, when I start seeing those 5-6 minute drives to just dry up a game and just they call their timeouts, it's running, and you still get that first down, I think that's when I'm starting to say, okay, this is a pretty damn good offense.
Yeah, and
again, there'll be tears in my eyes. There will be.
Well, and I do think. Those opportunities are certainly coming, and I think as they continue to develop, and again, that's what I like also about this team is I do think for as good as that win over Wisconsin was, and it was a big way to start the season, but I think this team played better against Ball State, and I think it was its best overall performance against Auburn. And by the way, with Jordan Stout as your punter, again, if you do have those 3 and outs and you don't want them, I'm with you, but man, you don't turn the ball over, you can feel fairly confident you're going to get 50 plus yards of field position swing, which is also kind of absurd to think about. But that is another big component of why I am remaining very bullish on what Penn State I think can achieve this season is I think if need be, Penn State can win that defensive battle and grind out a win because, again, they're not turning the ball over. And the punter has been unbelievably successful at changing field position. And this defense is good enough to keep you hanging around even if the offense isn't showing. And I think if you get into a high-scoring shootout, I do think this offense is capable of putting 6-7 touchdowns on the board.
I'd love to get into a high-scoring shootout because I'll put up our defense to stop somebody big time
against the best teams out there. And I really do. I think this offense has that potential, that capability. The other thing is, part of why I'm so excited about watching this Wisconsin Notre Dame game is I really want to see if what I think we know. We talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, but I think Wisconsin is a really good team. I think it's going to be Wisconsin and Iowa battling it out here for the Big Ten West. And I think whichever one of them wins it is going to be a formidable foe for whoever wins the East as well. And so I want to see Wisconsin go out there and lay it to Notre Dame. And I really do think that they are going to. But I also think this Auburn team is much better than what I thought it was at the start of the season. I thought going into this Penn State game, but that team is more poised than I expected it to be in that environment with as much youth as it has. But now I want to, let's see how it plays out in the SEC, because much like, I do think Michigan State is a really good team. I think Michigan State's going to have a really hard time not losing 4 games in conference play. Doesn't mean that they still aren't going to be really good, but you have a Michigan team that looks like it's the most legit it's been under a Harbaugh. You have a Penn State team that looks like it may be actually the team to beat now in the East, certainly right there with Ohio State. I mean, that's 3 really tough games, no matter how good you are, to win. And again, as we keep talking about, Indiana, Maryland, Rutgers, none of those are gimmies, to say nothing of the
That's not
the
West. Of Nebraska looked pretty damn good against the number 3 team in the country on Saturday.
That actually, that result was probably as surprising as any for me on Saturday. And I get the rivalry component for the fans there, but those Nebraska and Oklahoma kids haven't been growing up. I mean, it's like the Penn State pit. Like, and I do think for the Nebraska kids, I mean, I do think it was a driving force in that locker room that, hey, this is a chance to prove ourselves and all of that. But man, I mean, was there anything leading up to Saturday that led you to believe that Nebraska was going to be able to hang with a team that I think is a legit national title contender? At least, that's my belief at this stage of the season.
I mean, that's obviously a rival game and this and that, but that's nowhere near Oklahoma, Texas. So you're right. Those kids, none of them know exactly what's going on. So I'm just thinking that maybe Nebraska has made that turn. Maybe Frost has got it under control a little bit, but I mean, that was a hell of a game. I just saw the highlights of it, and they didn't lose by enough to have 2 missed field goals and then a block kick returned for a 2-point play. That's a lot of points they gave to Oklahoma, and that was a heck of a game. Saturday was a hell of a day, man. A hell of a day. So Notre Dame plays 2:30, Wisconsin this week, 2:30. Yep. Should be interesting. Hopefully we're up by 40. We can switch over to it. But yeah, the Big Ten needs that game. They need to put their mark on the season, I think, early on, and get Notre Dame out of the top 10, expose them for what they are, and give me and you a little bit better feeling like, okay, maybe that Wisconsin game they were a lot better than we thought. I mean, granted, we think that they're pretty damn good. But they go and lose to Notre Dame, I'm going to start suspecting that Wisconsin maybe not that good.
Yeah.
But, so it is a big game to watch and then see where everything goes. I just love college football. I just love the fall, man. You got Penn State playing Villanova. That's great, isn't it? But then you got Notre Dame playing Wisconsin. It's just awesome.
Watching that BYU Arizona State game Saturday night, late.
I was on it.
It really is, and I know there's been a lot made, rightfully so, of the whiteout, but it's just the atmosphere at all of those college football games, right? Like that is what was missing, and it was cool that they got to play last year and that and all of that. But man, I mean, it is nice to have, because it's the bands and the fans. That's what makes college football so special and so unique. In the sports landscape.
I know you were floating around tailgate, but did you watch game day?
I did not.
Best words I heard were that was pretty much a 3-hour Penn State recruiting commercial.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable. They went back, the history of the whiteout. They had interviews with Guido. The man was on there, Spider Caldwell.
Yeah.
All needs, you put Spider on there, Spider equals viewers. Okay, you want the views, you want the clicks, you want the hits. You put Spider on television, you're going to get them. I was actually telling stories. We were telling a story about the 2005 Ohio State game. I was sitting around my tailgate, and I was like, "I'll tell you this story when the next commercial." And the story I was going to tell, they literally panned to Brad Caldwell. I was like, "Well, that's the story I'm going to tell right there," because the morning after Ohio State Penn State 2005, when the Zombie Nation, the jumping around, everything, all this and that, the place was floating, and we all thought we were going to die on the sideline. Spider got a call, and I've told this story before on the show, and the Spider got a call from Ohio State's equipment manager who'd been there for 30 years, and he says, "Spider, that was the most electric atmosphere I've ever been involved with in a college football game." There's a guy from Ohio State now. Their equipment manager. So he'd been in every game for 30 years.
Yeah.
And he called and said that, and that was an amazing game. Now you fast forward. I couldn't believe it, by the way, when they said 16 years. I about threw the frig up. What? I was 16 years ago. And I'm just sitting there, and I was like, "Holy crap, man!" And then going through the history of it, showing the different games, and they're like, and people are like, "Oh, we were only 6-6 against in those games." And I was like, "Well, you're not having a whiteout versus Villanova. I mean, you're having a whiteout versus the top teams in the country." So, I'm not upset about the record of the whiteout, but it's funny to see every stadium. I mean, I'm not one of those crazy psycho Penn State fans who believe that we've created everything, because I know the whiteout was an NHL thing. I know it came from hockey. I know it came from other sports, but I mean, that whiteout in a football game is. I think that our stadium is set up perfect for it. And I don't know. Have you seen the camera angle from the field? And as a player, I always tell this story, and that is when you look up, and you see the highest people underneath the suites, and you look up and you see the double-decker edition, and those people look like ants. And they're sitting in the pitch black because the lights aren't even that high. You're in a crazy-ass atmosphere, and you're just sitting there, and you see this wave of just people, and there's this one little peanut just jumping around, and it's like, holy crap, that is a human being up there, and they look this big. And you realize how big that place is and how loud it can be, and then, them sitting above the lights. So that north end zone, that double deck, those people are sitting in the dark, and it just blows my mind as a player just looking up there like, holy crap. Well, yeah, then they have the snipers. And then you see them walking around on top of the suites in the press boxes. You're always like, man, did you notice a larger police force? I did. There was definitely a bigger police force. Like,
here's the
around.
thing. Like, I'm not usually roaming around.
True.
So I mean, I did notice police presence, but I have nothing to compare it to. I mean, I go to tailgates when I'm working, but I'm not roaming around from about 3.5 hours normally before kickoff until kickoff. So I definitely noticed the police presence. But
were you at my place when the guys came by in the riot gear? And I was like, Jesus. I was like, really, guys? I don't think we need the AKs like slung over the shoulder for a football. I mean, granted, you need that. You put them in a room, but I don't know if you were having the right atmosphere for that. And little kids are like looking at these guys, and they're like they were scared a bit. I mean, you get the guys in the full combat gear with AKs hanging off their shoulders, and it was like, still at a Penn State football game, right? And I get it. It's all about, protection and understanding, and, but I thought it was a little excessive having the guys out there with, and trust me, I'm a pro cop, pro military guy, but I was like, keep them somewhere, not out in the public walking around. But there was a ton of cops there. And I got to say, usually there's a couple instances where I'm like, you know what, don't be an ass to people. Like some crowd, some fans and stuff like that. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, I really didn't either.
Yeah, we get back to you talked about it before, but you saw some people. If it gets like that, I'm the first guy to say, just chill out, man. Just shut up.
Yeah.
So I have to say this, and you saw it for the first time the other day, and there's an Onward State article about it today. The Coctagon. I've been saying it for 5 years. It's the greatest thing ever. The 5-man urinal.
Yep.
We've called it the Coctagon for years, but Onward State actually, their headline said, "Ode to the Coctagon." And I was like, yes, it's made it. We've made it. We're big time at last, baby.
Yeah.
So they put one of them next to our Letterman's lot, so we were actually all pretty ecstatic about it. Now, if it's there for the Villanova game, I'll be even more impressed. So, funny story is that I had a guy I know who was convinced. He's convinced that Porta-Johns at sporting events come half full of matter. There's no way those things are empty. They come half full. They have to. I mean, because that Ball State game, I don't know if it was the concert the night before outside of the Bryce Jordan Center, but those toilets were full at 10 o'clock in the morning. Full. And you can only make so many complaints to Penn State and say, listen, this is the disgrace that I actually have to ask my wife, my sisters, and my nieces to actually have to sit in those things. So I'm happy to say the Letterman's lot has a cock to gun. It was a beautiful thing. We're going to see, but I mean,
it is a beautiful
I love
thing.
the fact that Onward State did an article about it. I said, you know what? That's cutting edge reporting right there, Ironhead. Cutting edge.
Take a break here and be back to wrap up shop. Yeah, it's flying by today. We'll be back with a pretty quick wrap here from Quaker Steak and Lube right after this.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
And we welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Both, I presume, expecting Penn State to roll
big,
comfortably.
Villanova big in this one, Ironhead.
Over Villanova. But on the pro football front, dear Goon,
Cowboys week.
Important week for the beloved Steelers against the Bengals as well. And it's a game, not exactly sure what's going on with Big Ben, and I'm expecting he's going to be out there, but how effective he'll be, and that's a concern to say the least. And I don't know. This feels like a critical game at a critical juncture for the Steelers, because if you go 1-2 after that big opening win over the Bills, right? Like it just, already that win feels like it's been done, because everybody, including me, was expecting the Steelers to lose to the Bills and then beat the Raiders. So pretty much everybody had them at 1-1 after the first two games. But now, because you're getting into important divisional matchups, and when you're trying to kind of figure out how this season can break, again, it's not that this is a make or break type of game, but boy, it's one you're just going to feel a lot better about your team if they get it, and a lot worse about them if they don't. And I think that Steelers defense is going to keep them in every game. And I'm hoping that offensive line will come together. I still think there are some things that they can do better, but I'm starting to get worried about whether or not they're not going to match up well with that O-line. A couple of those younger guys that I was hoping would be they still may develop big time, but boy, they're not looking the part to this point in the season.
I'll give them. You got to give the NFL because they have even less contact than the college kids in the preseason.
Yep.
So I'll give them. You got to give those guys at least 3 to 4 weeks to try and mesh because they've never played together. It's an all new offensive line. How many guys? Two returners.
Yeah.
They're having a good job. They're not. They're struggling a little bit, but then
another injury.
Like the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they have completely new offensive line, and they're struggling too. So it's not easy to go out there and buy an offensive line and have them put them out there. But you gotta have time together to mesh, and not having any preseason that obviously does hurt. But I give it 3-4 weeks before you start making any kind of rash decisions.
Yeah.
But as an Eagles fan, talking about offensive line, it begins, Booch. It begins. I mean. Brandon Brooks goes down. He tore a pec now. That's their best offensive lineman. So now they're going to have they played 2 weeks in a row. They were playing rather well. He goes out. Boom. Done. They didn't start. They started playing like crap. So I have a great Philadelphia Eagles Cowboys week story for you. So I was not there. It was my buddy waiting in the airport in Philadelphia, waiting for a flight, and an announcement came over. This is a week of a Cowboys. It was like maybe a Wednesday night before a Cowboys-Phillies or Cowboys-Eagles game. And I said, the announcer's like, flight 3215 from Dallas, Texas is arriving at gate C7. My buddy said, everybody stood up at the bar, walked down to section C7, and when the people got off the plane, they booed them. I just tell this story all the time. It's so funny because he's like, and these people get off the plane like, what the hell are you booing us for? We're from Philadelphia. Yeah, but you came from Dallas. That is what you would call a rivalry, my man. That is just flat out hate. And my buddy said it was like no one said anything at the bar. They all just knew to instinctively stand up, put their drinks down, and walk over to gate C7 and start booing Cowboy or a plane coming in from Dallas. So that's where the Eagles week is right now. Monday night Cowboys is going to be freaking awesome. I think people are already tailgating for that right now.
Yep.
So.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun this weekend,
work or
I
playing?
suspect. Playing.
Nice.
Yep.
So,
should be a good time.
Gates are open at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I'm departing my house at 6:30 a.m., baby.
Well,
I told my sister that who's coming up. She's like, wait, what? She's like, I might be coming in the second shuttle. I said, yes, you are. Love it. I got Penn State 56-10, by the way. Like I said earlier, I think they're going to keep it a little bit tight, tough first quarter. Then our guys, they open it up in the second.
We're
quarter.
In the same. I have 45-7.
There you go,
Penn State. So we're pretty much in.
Go. Let's get it done
in the same neighborhood, and of course, looking forward to the Pirates 4-game sweep of the.
We still got our case of beer on that. Yep, cool, awesome. Case of beer in the series. What is it? The Buccos won 2 of the 3, right?
The last, yeah.
One
of the few highlights of the 2021 campaign for the.
They got to go 3-1 in this series to take the season series.
We will be watching that intently, I am sure, along with all of the other sports this weekend. We hope you enjoy all of the sports as well, and we will talk to you again on Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe.